I feel like TF2 is in a vital state right now. As it is, Scream Fortress has come across once again, and we have gotten more content. just like I predicted. It's never ending, truly. We've gotten more, as people like to say, slop from the workshop. But it's interesting because on the horizon is the Man vs. Machine update that has 100% been promised by Valve. It is a done deal. It's going to happen. It's crazy. But I think this is a vital point where we really need to stop and reminisce on the patterns that the community tends to have. At least something that I have noticed and have decided, well, I think I should make a video on that. There's a bit of a phenomenon in the TF2 sphere that I have seen other people bring up, but I've never truly seen brought to the forefront the way that it should. I'm talking, of course, about the TF2 community cycle. I'm not really sure what I should actually name this. There's not really a formal term for it, and this is mostly a phenomenon that I myself have picked up on. I feel like the community would mostly agree that we are kind of somewhat in a lull state, and have been for like years at this point. But why do people say that? Why do people say that? Well, I mean, we're not getting updates like we used to. That's great. Everybody knows that. That's a broken record at this point. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that. The state of the game has become very stagnant. We've seen changes in how Valve tends to treat the game, but we haven't really seen anything new or anything that's moved us to a better or worse area. You could definitely count the bots being somewhat fixed as an exception to this, and I would agree. But content-wise, we really haven't moved in any direction. But as for the cycle itself, I feel like we're almost living in Groundhog's Day. It's the same thing every time. Let me explain. The start of the cycle seems to be that we get an update, maybe something like the summer update, or maybe earlier on it was one of the Halloween or the Christmas updates. But for one reason or another, something happens. Maybe the update itself isn't that great. Maybe there are other issues that are currently plaguing the game, and the community generally sees the new update as nothing more than a distraction. But regardless, there's the next phase. There is a call to action from the community. A major video gets released by a major content creator, or there is a general movement within the community, maybe people adding save or fix TF2 to their usernames on the servers. Something major happens, and it's because of the community outcry. Stereotypically, you might think that this is where it ends, but it really isn't. The next thing I usually see is some kind of compromise from Valve. I mean, we don't always get what we want. Matter of fact, we rarely get what we really want. But Valve doesn't exactly leave us high and dry. Valve will occasionally get off their ass and do something. I mean, they did help fix the bots. If anyone remembers the old crate depression, they did manage to take some action there to fix that. And while they do take action, it never is truly enough. It's never quite what we want. It's just enough to get us to stop complaining. And because of that, we get put in this really weird territory where we're not really satisfied, but we also don't really feel the need to keep crying about it for some reason. And instead, we kind of get into this, I guess, apathy. This level of tiredness that nobody really likes and nobody really wants to be in, but most people feel that getting a response from Valve is enough to just forget about the whole situation for one reason or another. This results in a long drought period where community discussion is kind of at an all-time low. The masses of TF2 kind of just see the problem that they were complaining about as maybe not fixed, but definitely not worth complaining about anymore. This is where I feel like the community is currently at as of making this video, up until the next phase of the cycle. And it's the one that truly makes it a cycle. It's the update. Intentional or not, Valve seems to be very good at putting out updates to silence the community or to bring the community back to life after being in that state of apathy. But the problem is that there will inevitably be another issue plaguing TF2. Either that, or the small fix that Valve managed to put in the game to shut us up isn't really worthwhile, and we go straight back to complaining like nothing ever happened. We all want this game to last forever, right? But being in a perpetual cycle where nothing truly gets done, or the community complains about this, gets a slight compromise from Valve, and then switches back to apathy until another update which inevitably breaks something or causes outcry once again, this isn't healthy long term, and it's something that I feel like should probably be broken. If you notice throughout this cycle, the community as a whole is never truly happy. All we really get is hopeful or optimistic, but not necessarily satisfied. Now, I understand, it is damn near impossible to satisfy an entire community. It just is. But I do think that there are steps that we can take to break this cycle, to make it feel like the game moves forward, or to make the general community more satisfied with the state of the game. Not everyone is going to be happy with these potential fixes, but I do feel that it is important that we as a community keep these aspects in mind. First of all, we need to understand and accept that the glory days, as we knew them, are likely in the past. I would absolutely love to see Valve put out shorts constantly. I would love to see Valve make their own content. I would love to see Valve add a shit ton of new weapons every single year. But if we're trying to be realistic here, Valve doesn't have to. This game does not make them the revenue to justify creating those things. If it did, they never would have slowed down in making new content, now would they have? Even if they decided to go back to making content in-house again, I do not think that that would fix a lot of the biggest issues plaguing the game. So that's why I believe it's best as a community for us to prioritize asking for meaningful, long-term fixes. The bot crisis, or the end of such, was honestly a really good step in the right direction. The calling out of the slipping quality of cosmetics chosen from the workshop was, in my opinion, also a step in the right direction. And as it is, asking for a new matchmaker, or asking to even just go back to quick play if that's what you'd prefer, is again a step in the right direction. More than a step in the right direction. It's honestly what we should all be focusing on, taking the attention away from new content into long-term fixes. And what better way to ensure the quality of the game than to fix the problems? You don't even need to work to add anything new. You just need to make sure the game functions in the best way possible. I'm not saying we can't get new stuff, okay? That's fine. If you like new stuff, that's great. But I do believe that as a community, we should shift our attention away from asking for new content and instead shift our attention towards asking for the best possible fixes. If this game works as smoothly as possible due to all the fixes we ask for, it will last so much longer than if we just bloat the game with new stuff. This also reflects on our reactions to what Valve does to the game. Instead of reacting to 10 new maps with absolute glee and giddy, we should probably be saying, hey, did you fix the matchmaking yet? Can I play those 10 maps? Second, I want to bring up what I'm trying to do right now, and that's just talking about the game, talking about issues, adding to discussion, making videos. It is crucial that we do this, especially during that apathetic phase of the community. Talk about certain things. How did you feel about the update? Do you think the quality has dropped or gotten better? Do you think that the fixes that they've added are meaningful in any way? How does this, whatever you're talking about, reflect the state of the game as a whole? Things like that, they do wonders. Even if somebody has already said exactly what you're saying, I still feel it's important to say it, because some people may be willing to listen to the same message in the way that you communicate it. Again, these potential fixes are not to return TF2 to its former update-filled glory. They are to satisfy the players of the game, at least long enough to usher in a better era for both the player base and even for Valve. If Valve gets extremely loud and proud communication from the community as to what they want fixed and what they want Valve to do with their game, eventually we as the community can sculpt TF2 into a product that will last for a long time. Even something that Valve doesn't really even have to touch anymore. Maybe this is my personal opinion and my stupid little vision that nobody really has to agree with, But if Valve could just add certain fixes to make the game function as smoothly as possible, and then not really touch the game as often as they do, I would be satisfied. I just want to play the game, man. Like, that's literally it. Here's kind of my personal and vague, very subjective opinion on what a new era outside of this TF2 cycle could possibly look like. We'd probably get less workshop content added, maybe still seasonal events every now and again, such as Miraz missions being reset or whatever, but fixes like matchmaking or just general housekeeping of the game is probably going to be prioritized. In order to break the cycle, the game needs to be playable. Bottom line. And of course, I'm not saying that the game just needs to die out and not have any new content or anything. I understand that that's important to give new waves of players coming into the game. There definitely could be something to keep the community engaged every now and again. Maybe we could have a workshop map rotation. You could play maps of the workshop and give feedback to the creators. That's just an example. I personally think it is a lot easier to break this community cycle than a lot of people think. Asking for fixes, talking about the game, and simply a change in the system as a whole could easily fix this game and usher it into a new era. An era where, while we don't get as much content stuffed into it, we still get fixes, and we get a game that fucking works. These issues are not small, and you could argue they're not few, but prioritizing our stance as a community as to what we want to see Valve do with this game will prioritize satisfaction and break the TF2 community cycle. That's really all I wanted to say. I felt like this was an important video that I needed to make to further a discussion that I really haven't seen pushed that far in the community. So again, leave comments and discuss certain things. Here is a clip of me not liking casual again.
Can't vote on the game, by the way. Just I don't know what manhole is, but even if I wanted to play on it, I can't. Just saying, awesome game. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye.